what? I get more and more angry every time I think about the Stranger Things finale. And this is coming from a person who a few days ago made a video on YouTube defending the show and saying that, yeah, the plot holes are there, but since there's still emotion in the show, it can be forgiven, it's fine. But over the past few days, the only emotion that I'm feeling when it comes to the ending of the show is anger and maybe disappointment. You know how when you invest a lot of time into something, like watching a show or reading a book, and then it ends and you feel sad? So that's what I was feeling. And I think that sadness made me overlook how actually the story fell flat. And I just didn't want to admit that I invested so much time into this, and it led to that ending. But once the nostalgia wore off and I was left with only the story, I realized that it doesn't hold up. There was this comment under that video where I was defending the finale, and it says that, and I say in the video something like, oh, there's something deeper happening because I still care about the show. And the person wrote that there is nothing deeper. It's actually very superficial. And I see that now and I'm angry. When it comes to every show, there is this unspoken contract between the fans and the creators. So the fans watch the show, they pay attention, and then they get rewarded by the creators with intentional storytelling, interesting storylines, Easter eggs, parallels, foreshadowing, and so on. That makes the fans feel like they're part of something bigger together. But season 5, especially the final 4 episodes, made it super clear that the writing was in fact superficial and the details don't actually matter because they were never planned. They were just coincidences and mistake. Like, let's look at some big ones. For example, Erica thrown at 20 in season 4 to defeat Vecna, which kind of implied 11 plus 8 plus 1. And then it was a coincidence. Will's birthday in season 4 and it was forgotten. It was a mistake. Then so many shots of Will's eye being like covered by a shadow or different foreign objects. People thought that it meant that he would be the eye of Vecna and then he would lose his eye. Also never happened. And then Will wasn't wearing his coat in season 5, even when it was said multiple times that it's cold outside. And it seems like a very straightforward conclusion that he's flayed, and that would be a cool callback to season 2. Also a coincidence and didn't lead anywhere. And this is all very ironic considering there is a scene in season 5 where Lucas breaks the fourth wall and addresses the viewers and says that I don't believe in coincidences anymore, when in fact so many things were just coincidences. And so many things were not explained. Editing magic. So the Conformity Gate in the last 24 hours has been gaining so much popularity. It's basically a theory that everything that's happening in season 5 is not real, and it's actually happening in Vecna's mind, and we as viewers are all being misled by Vecna. I think the theory is genius, but do we actually think that the writers came up with it? Like, considering everything I said, considering all the plot holes I said, even from like earlier seasons, actually, if it turns out to be true, it would go down in history as a monumental moment, I think. But I personally don't think it's true. I personally don't think they thought of that. And if it happens, I will be the first one to admit that I was wrong. And maybe this deeper meaning that we were looking for in season 5 fell victim to second screen viewing, which is basically when the writers show in a way that you can understand what's happening in it and keep track of the story, even if you're on your phone while you watch it. That usually means that everything has to be explained in dialogue and said directly to the viewer, not to the characters. If we look at Will's coming out scene, he says to 20 people in the room, he says, he's my Tammy, about Mike, right? But the thing is, there are 20 people in the room and only one, maybe two, so there is Robin and maybe Steve, who would understand what that means.
I do. I understood that reference.
But the whole room acts like they know what they mean because that line is directed at the viewers, not at the characters in the story. And they're basically explaining that Will has freed himself through words, not through actions or showing something interesting. But the thing is, the most vocal people, so the fans, were not watching the show on their phones. They were watching closely, analyzing the shots, keeping track of everything, noticing inconsistencies, making theories out of those inconsistencies, looking for something deeper. Looks like this season 5 was written for viewers who were half distracted, but it wasn't made for a fan base from the earlier seasons that watch things frame by frame. So that's where the disconnect comes from. Also, I see a lot of negativity towards the actors saying that they didn't act well in this season. I don't think that's true necessarily. They just execute what is told to them a lot of the time. Even the greatest actors cannot save a bad story. The show got complicated by season 5. The cast got so large. There were so many characters to keep track of, so much world building to keep track of. But if we think of a show, there is two sides. There is the business side and there is the creative side. And the creative side is the one that we usually see. The business side we don't usually see because it's not fun to talk about. It's a lot of admin, a lot of money stuff and like logistics and so on. It's usually the boring stuff. The business side of things dictates how the show is made a lot of the time. Basically like delivering a project. And when I think about delivering projects, there is always trade-offs, right? You always have to prioritize. You always have to put some things first. And in this season, it feels like spectacle got prioritized over story. The VFX is stunning. The sound design is incredible. The cinematography is beautiful. This isn't about the crew, and those things were done very well. But it's not what made people fall in love with the show in the first place, right? It was the narrative. And this season, it looks like it's the main thing that suffered. Not to be completely negative about all this, there is one exception in the season, right? And that is the Max Z segment of episode 4. From the moment Derek steps into the military facility to the end of episode 4, it's all perfection. They prove that they can balance the substance with great visuals and spectacle. And it's very sad that it didn't get carried into the last episodes as well. I have a quick confession. I don't like Eleven's storyline for season 4 because, hear me out, I think it was very lazy to just explain the new villain by her memory loss. She lost her powers and then we learned that she lost her memory. And that was very convenient for the plot because that isolated her from everyone else. And so they couldn't defeat Vecna without her. But also it introduced the new villain in a very convenient way, as if he had been there all along. I used to think that that was the laziest writing of the show, but now the final episodes of season 5 took that title. Let's imagine that we are the people who scroll on their phones while watching Stranger Things. And I would notice that the only place where there is water in the upside down is the water tank. I understand that everything else is open water and the tank was contained, but that's just convenient. I don't think that's a good explanation. Then in volume 1, Will controls the Demogorgons in a highly monitored military facility with thousands or hundreds of cameras in a quarantine city, and he doesn't become a major target for the military. Like Elle stays the only target. The military doesn't know that Will does not have powers on his own. They don't know that he's pulling them from Vecna. Why is he still just a boy for them? Why is he not a target? Then, after the final battle, Dr. K just disappears, no resolution. Max graduates school with all her friends at the same time, even though she was in a coma for almost 2 years. And she was struggling with her grades prior to the coma as well. Also was supposed to be blind in the end of season 4. Why is she not blind in season 5? Like, to be fair, they got it right that she wouldn't be able to walk or move her body very well after not using her muscles. But she can see. The military just lets everyone go after everything that happens. After the Hawkins crew just killed a bunch of people. And also Hopper, who was killing those people, becomes the chief of police again. And he was also supposed to be presumed dead for years until that point. And he just gets the job without reintegrating back into society. I realize now that the stakes in season 5 stopped being how are they going to defeat the evil or is Steve going to survive? And the stakes became, I hope this is okay enough for me to cry at the end. It's not driven by the narrative anymore, it's just manufactured by nostalgia. And I'm happy about one thing. I think it's okay that they didn't kill off more characters with this setting of the finale, because it would have been wasteful and would have just made more people angry and dissatisfied. I'm not defending the show now. I'm just saying that this is a symptom of the broader execution of the season being not very thought through this time. These are the things that someone watching while being on their phone would notice. I'm not getting into the smaller stuff. And it feels like right now the relationship between the show and the fan base is broken. The joy of rewatching, the fun of analyzing and theorizing and discovering new layers, all of that is gone now because season 5 just makes us assume that there are no layers. Also, to be clear, I don't support review bombing, but the petition and the Google Sheet with like allegedly deleted scenes stem from the fans thinking that there was something deeper to the episodes. But as this comment said, there wasn't anything deeper. Season 5 proved to us that there wasn't anything deeper going on. Where does that leave us with the show though? There is the new animated series that's been announced and that's going to follow the main characters between season 2 and 3. And fingers crossed, animated series brings back the magic of the earlier seasons. If you felt disappointed with the finale, you're not alone. And a lot of people feel that way as well. Let me know in the comments if you're going to watch the animated series or if everything related to Stranger Things is a no-go for you now. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, where I'm going to be talking about something completely different from Stranger Things.